Hello, my name is QARK, that's QARK, and in just a moment I'll be showing you some good and simple tips on how to get a nice indie blues sound from your guitar with just 3 chord variations. And in most cases, you'll only need to manipulate 1 finger to achieve this desired effect. But I'd like to start with a quote that someone posted on YouTube. I regret I was unable to relocate the source of the quote, but somebody was commenting in the comments section for somebody else's video, because there are all these people stressed out about practicing guitar, and his response was them, what he said was, don't force yourself to do what you love to do. You know, many people, myself included, were really struck by that simple yet profound statement. It's a very interesting concept. Don't force yourself to do what you love to do. Like, don't force yourself. And like, how should we best interpret it? Well, remember, the guy who posted it was answering people that were having trouble buckling down and practicing. So I think in a really straightforward way, he was just reminding them like why they took up the guitar or any instrument or practice, why they took it up to begin with. Remember, this is something you actually love pursuing. It's something you'll enjoy if you just start doing it. So stop stressing out on it. You know, like anything, there's often a little bump of resistance in the beginning. But once you get going with it, you'll quickly be over that. If you don't know where to start, you know, just practice some scales or playing chords or finger picking or following along with an instructional, like a video or book or even this video. There's literally an ocean of learning material that's out there, accessible for free on the internet, and even right here on YouTube. So you don't have any excuses not to practice. Just focus your mind and your heart on what you're doing and try to nail whatever you're playing. Get into that zen and just keep practicing until you start improving. You'll get better and better as you keep trying. It's a law of nature. There will be times of slogging where it feels like you're not progressing, but then there'll be times where you look back and say, wow, you know, look how far I've progressed. You can enjoy the practice by just trying to attain the best possible touch on your instrument, your best chord transition, your best scale transition, your smoothest scale. It's not so much the destination or the minutes or hours that you practice that you should be focused on. I mean, it's definitely great to set goals for yourself and envision where you want to go with your music. But the actual work of getting there should be equally as important and fulfilling, if not more, than the future vision you hold and counting down every hour to get there. You know, even if it's difficult at times, you just have to accept there will be hardship, there will be pain, there will be struggle, and maybe even some impatience in trying to nail a new riff or musical tenet. But you should accept that it's a blessing in disguise, because it's giving you a higher challenge to work for. Something greater than your current self that you're trying to learn, that when you attain it, it'll fundamentally expand who you are and your abilities, broadening your repertoire. You know, learn to love every feel as you press the string against the neck, every bend, every pluck. You know, every half-assed scale you play when you're trying to learn, but you're committed to perfecting it by not giving up. Because ultimately, this instrument is your dog. or it's your other dog if you already have a real dog, because it will always be loyal. It will always be there as your best friend. It will never leave you as long as you never leave it. And eventually, and perhaps rather quickly, if you put the time in, you'll start getting better at what you want to do and where you envision yourself in relation to this instrument. So love the process, because the process is actually a process of self-realization. You'll be more and more self-actualized in your chosen field as you practice. But to get there requires you to take action. That's the most important thing. It's not about the label or the intent, the desire to do it. It's actually about doing it and practicing. Honor your inclination, your new chosen path, by gaining real experience in it. And this only comes with genuine study, practice, and time familiarizing yourself with your chosen instrument or craft. Or sometimes that instrument or craft chooses you. You know, it's better to honor the music you're creating first and foremost. To try to make really good music as you hear it in whatever genre, because then the music, it'll shine out in its own right. If you decided to check out this video because you're interested in what I have to teach about basic indie blues guitar, then let's dive right into a lesson. Using only 3 chords and variations thereof, I'll show you how to coax a variety of compelling voicings from your guitar, and how to generate a simple but soulful indie blues sound. And in most cases, this effect will be achieved by altering the position of just one finger. So first, let's take a closer look at the fretboard and your fingers. So since this first lesson is for beginning students, we're only going to concern ourselves with the first 12 frets. There they are. The 12th fret always has 2 dots. And the 6 strings begin with the low E on top to the high E on bottom, high E being string 1. E, A, D, G, B, E. Those are the notes. Eat a darn good breakfast every day is the way you can memorize those notes. As far as our finger picking and our playing hand for the frets, there it is. Memorize this. T being your thumb, the numbers being your fingers. We're going to start off with a basic finger picking exercise, starting with an E major note, rather chord, consisting of only 3 notes. So why don't you go ahead and hold this note, placing your middle finger, your ring finger, finger 2, on the 7th fret, string 5. You notice the high E and the B are played open. So for this finger picking exercise, you're going to get practice playing 3 specific finger picking patterns. Here's the first one. So again, memorize your hand and your finger positions, and it's actually going to be turned upside down as your finger picking hand. So how you'll be able to follow along is, you see the open fretboard here, you see the red X on the top string, the 6th string. That means you don't play it. When you see a red X, don't hit that string. Then you see your thumb hitting 2 strings and your fingers, the number of the fingers, showing up in the sequence that you'll be picking. So either in this open position or while holding your chord, now you can practice. Thumb, thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, back to second finger, first finger, jumping to third finger on the first string. Let's try again. All right. right, now make sure you're holding that E major chord, and we'll play it a few times. Now, by holding that same chord, we're going to drop it down 2 frets to a D major 7, where your second finger is on the 5th fret, 5th string. The bottom 2 strings, the B and high E, are still going to be open. We're going to have a different finger picking pattern, so why don't we study that? So this is what it's going to look like, and just to make sure we're on the same page, when you see the T's for your thumb and the numbers of your fingers, that's for your finger picking hand. That's going to be the hand over your pickups that are picking, not the hand on the fretboard. The crossed out 3 on the high E is indicating this pattern is different than the first one because we return to the thumb instead of the 3rd finger high E. So let's take another few looks at it. So let's practice it some more while holding your D major chord. So now let's play both patterns back to back to get good finger picking practice. So we're going to introduce one more chord. With what you're holding, go ahead and bring it on up to the 10th fret so that your second finger is on the 5th string, 10th fret. This is a G major chord, and the B is played open, but the high E we're not going to play. And like with our other 2 chords, we're not going to be playing the low E, the 6th string. So either holding this chord or with a completely open fretboard, why don't we practice a new finger picking pattern? So what I'm really teaching you in indie blues guitar and alternative music is something called dynamics, where you're using loud and soft voicings. The finger picking was kind of the softer one, but this is called a power chord. It's like a bar chord where you get a louder sound. You're using your finger not for one string, but barring multiple strings. In this case, the whole fretboard, serving like a natural capo. So again, you look at, like for this chord we're about to play, an E add 6, you're going to be using your entire first finger and your third finger to hold really tightly in this formation across the entire fretboard for your first finger. Your third finger is only going to go up to the fourth string, and then you're going to hammer on your pinky on only the bottom two strings. Then we're going to drop the whole thing down 2 frets to the 5th fret to play an A add 6 suspended 4 or a D add 6. And like I said, since we're going to be using 3 chords to get different voicings, the third chord is this really standard chord. This is an A minor. So get your fingering on this. Now we're going to make this chord blue by taking our pinky, our 4th finger, and dropping it down to the 8th fret, 2nd string for an A7. And then we're going to complete the sequence by bringing it back up to the 7th fret, the E add 6. So now I'll bring it back up there to the 7th fret and jam it a few times. See if you can play along. So now we're going to make our power chords blue. And what we're going to do is, instead of using our 3rd finger to bar the entire 9th fret, we're just going to use the 3rd and 4th fingers, leaving the 3rd string open. You're going to want to strum down the entire neck, then drop it down 2 frets to the 5th fret. And then while barring the 5th fret, go ahead and hold this chord in A7. And then bring it back up. That last chord showed us another dynamic to alternative music called open voicing. So instead of barring the whole 5th fret, you're just going to put your 1st finger on the 5th string, 5th fret. You're not going to play the low 6. It's going to be X'd out, but you will be playing the high E. So this will give you a nice open sounding chord. Taking it one step further now, we're going to add open voicings to all of the chords you learn. Really open those up and give it a really emotive sound. So starting with our E sharp 9 on the 7th fret, we're going to drop it down 2 frets to get a D add 9. You don't want to play the 6th string, the low E, but those blue circles indicate open strings you're playing. Now our blue chord, a D major 4, Then we're going to drop it all the way down to the 2nd fret to play a B11. These are all open chords. Now every other time in the sequence when we drop down to the 2nd fret, we're going to switch it up. The alternate chord is this one. So study these 2 chords. I'll switch them back and forth. So for the alternate, look at number 4, your pinky. You can play it 2 different ways. So I'm just going to jam these chords so you can hear what you can do with them. These are 3 chords played in their most basic position, but you can still get a really powerful sound out of it. The first one is just a standard E. You can play all 6 strings on this. You notice you have 3 open strings. Now our second chord is just a basic D. Now you don't want to play the low E note, the 6th string, but you can play the 5th and the 4th string, the A and the D. But some people say don't play the A, just play the D. Now our third chord is just a standard A. You don't want to play the low E, the 6th string, but you do want to play the A and the E on the bottom. You want to really strum through this. Now with a little practice, these are the easiest chords in the world to make blue. And you can get a really varied sound out of these 3 chords just by moving sometimes 1 finger. And here's some examples of that. So you can try to practice some of these variations I'm about to show you. It's pretty much required to break away from these standard chord formats in order to broaden the sound of them and get like a blues sound. So just check some of these patterns out and see if you can follow along. With the open E, you can take the whole thing off and put it back on in quick sequence, and do the same with just your 2nd and 3rd finger. To get a real blue chord from this D, you'll have to change the sequence of your fingers. Another variation you can give this blues D chord is take your thumb and reach it over the top of the neck on the 6th string on the 2nd fret and hold that. Jimi Hendrix actually holds this chord. If you really want to challenge yourself now, take your pinky, put it on the 4th fret, 4th string. Hold this F sharp. Now for the A chord, probably the most easy thing to have a variance on. just don't play that low E. Now just lift up your second finger, slide your third finger up, everything else is open. Now just really grip those 3 strings you're holding and bend them down, bend them sharply down with a curve, and really get into that clawing feel. You can really tweak those down and get a nice blues sound. Now I'm going to kind of just jam on everything we learned in different ways. Another big dynamic to alternative music are effects, like a distortion box, some chorus, some reverb, maybe some delay. So let's go back to the finger picking and take it from there. All right, well, thanks for checking out my Masterclass. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. If you want to hear more of my music outside of this tutorial, the links are below. You can listen to it for free there. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. for more unique content, and that way I'll more easily be able to follow you and see what you're doing here on YouTube and what you're creating. All right, well, have a great one and rock on.